Hello, this is JJ Humphrey. We're back on Elephant in the Room. Hey, this is a really good day. I want to wish everybody a very happy Memorial Day weekend. Hope you're having a good time, taking a vacation, respecting and honoring our military people, and honoring, going out cleaning up cemeteries and having a good time with all your family and the things that we get to enjoy in this nation on a weekend like this. Guys, I am running for Lieutenant Governor. I do want to tell you, go to JJ number 4 LTGov.com, JJ number 4 LTGov.com to join with that. Hey, look at the signs. We got big signs, we got little signs, we got cool t-shirts. We got them What the Humphrey t-shirts going on. And today, that's a good way to lead into what the Humphrey is going on in the Department of Corrections. Guys, I've been reporting on the Department of Corrections for the last really about 6 years. I mean, I've been calling out 6 years, but really since Director Harp took over, I mean, things just really went downhill and downhill quick. So today I'm with a good friend, somebody who is experienced, highly experienced in the Department of Corrections, and she recently got fired, and so she agreed to come on and talk about the things that I've been saying are going on in the Department of Corrections, the things that they've been denying, and so she's going to give us the truth. She's going to talk about her situation, what happened, and so we've got Margaret Green. Margaret was just recently a warden there at MacAlford, but Margaret has a lot of experience throughout the entire Department of Corrections, one of the most knowledgeable people you're going to run into on corrections. Not only Margaret has experience in corrections, but Margaret is steeped in family. So her family, and guys, this is a tradition. This is what's bad, is when you come to towns like where I live, Lane, Oklahoma, Toka County, we have 2 prisons. There at McAllister, we have a prison, actually 2 prisons, probation pro. So guess what? We've got family that have history. I mean, like granddad, dad, uncles, aunts, the entire family working for the Department of Corrections. Guys, we're seeing that go away right now. It's a pretty sad situation. So Margaret, tell us, kind of run down what kind of experience. Give me a little history on what all you've done.
I am one of the generational. My grandfather was an officer at OSP. My dad he started out in classification, but he was actually at the OSP riot with the National Guard in 1973. He then went to work for Department of Corrections, again, classification. We've lived all around the state. He mostly spent his career as a deputy warden. He was actually deputy warden for MacAlford when MacAlford was still alive at Stringtown Correctional Center. Grew up, followed my dad around the state. He eventually retired at Jackie Brandon as a warden. I'd already begun my career at OSP as an officer at that time. I actually started out at OSP in the post office in 1997. I began my career as an officer in 99. I was a case manager, procedures officer. I left for 3 years to be mental health work. Came back, worked for Partner Pro Board, hired in as a unit manager in 2017, and then promoted to deputy warden and warden from OSP to Jackie Brandon to MacAlford.
So when we say that you have seen the Department of Corrections, how it was run, going back probably farther than Maynard. Do you remember when Maynard was in there?
Yeah.
So guys, when I say Maynard, so probably 1990, one of the best guys that I believe probably one of the best directors ever. I liked Ward. Ward was a good one. Saffel was a really good one. Now, Justin Jones, I had my differences with Justin Jones, but Justin knew corrections. I will tell you that. I didn't always agree with him, but he knew corrections. I liked the all ball, and that's giving you about 30 years of the Department of Corrections directors right there. I left some out. I could name, I think, almost every one of them because I've been highly involved in Department of Corrections. So you're saying you have at least 30 years of knowledge or better.
Yeah. I'll be 50 this year, so I grew up in it.
Right.
entirely.
So again, you've seen it under good directors. You've seen it under bad directors. Can I ask you, have you ever seen it? What would you say the condition? Would you say it's the worst condition you've ever seen it?
I would say it's absolutely the worst condition right now.
And tremendously worse, or just?
This is the worst. Park was probably the second worst. Justin Farris could be the worst.
You know, and here's what's funny. I really, when Harp was gone, I really took a sec. I come out publicly and said, hey, you know what? I'm going to shut my mouth. I'm going to hope you get up there. I'm going to hope that you change this direction, change the department. It would take a massive overhauling to do it. Guess what? And you're not the only person that says that they think that it may have gotten worse. We'll get into why those, because we're not just going to sit here, guys, and say it's this or that. We're going to tell you why we believe that, what we base all that on. And again, between the two of us, I mean, we're talking about somewhere 60 to 70 years of experience with the Department of Corrections. Plus, like we say, we've known people, you know, I mean, you grow up around this stuff. And so you've been around it even more than I have, but I was grown up around people who worked there because half the people around here have worked in prisons. You know, here at Lane, Oklahoma, they either worked at MacAlford or they worked down here at Howard McLeod. So I worked at Howard McLeod, and then I worked 20 years and retired out of Probation Pro, which is still with DOC. So I retired Department of Corrections. A lot of people think the directors try to make it sound like I hate them and I hate the Department of Corrections, and I try to go after them and lie and make up stuff on them when in reality it's farther from the truth. If you cut me, I believe Department of Corrections. I love the Department of Corrections. Gave a lot of my life to the Department of Corrections. As a legislator, have just really tried to get raises and save that department and make it better. But they have went after me like a biting hog because I'm calling things out, because I call out a lot of problems. So here recently, last week?
Wednesday.
This week.
Wednesday.
So it's this week that you were fired.
Yes.
Can you tell us why you were fired?
Because Justin Farris, the director, came through on Friday morning for a tour at MacAlford, and his nephew had applied or was going to apply to be an officer at MacAlford. His brother, Jim Farris, who was retired from the Department of Corrections, had texted me and asked me about hiring Zane, or his son, and I said yes. I kept asking him, when's he going to hire on? When's he going to apply? I need the staff. This young man had a degree. He was physically fit. He could pass the physical. He had a minor in criminal justice, which was, again, a benefit. I mentioned to Director Farris about the nephew hiring on, and he said, quote, he didn't really care for it, wasn't liking it just because of the last name Farris. I said, I agree, I understand. But at the same time, it's not the same way it was 25 years ago. I literally said, you could walk in now with the name Grubbs, Boone, Farris, and nobody would care, inmates or staff, because those were my dad's name, Bobby Boone, and Farris' name. So that's all I said. He didn't say else about it. The next morning on Saturday, I texted Jim just to say, hey, when does...
Your dad's Bobby Boone?
No, Grubbs. But Boone, okay. I grew up with Bobby Boone.
Okay.
I grew up with Boone.
I was fixing to say.
No, just Grubbs. Quirky Grubbs. So I texted Jim Farris, said, hey, when's Zane planning on applying? And I said, Justin came by. Literally my text says, Justin came by yesterday morning, was polite, said he didn't care so much about Zane working there because of the name. I said, it's not that big of a deal. I don't feel he's in any physical harm. Staff and inmates don't care. You can come in with the 3 big names, whatever.
Right.
You'll be fine. Nobody cares. I wouldn't put him in danger if I thought that. I thought he was going to be a good officer. And then... Well,
here's the thing. I mean, first of all, I know a little bit about Zane. I mean, I know the whole family.
Yeah.
Their uncle, Jim Sr., who used to work for the Department of Corrections. In fact, their uncle, when they had to ride at MacAlford, no one would talk to anyone. The inmates would not talk to anyone. Big Jim, what we call him Big Jim, went up there by himself as the only one, went to the hill, resolved the whole thing, got the hostages back. He was well known. People knew you didn't mess with old Jim, you know what I'm saying. But me and Jim, I actually spoke at his funeral. Me and him, I mean, we kidded each other all the time. I loved him to death. I mean, he's like one of my bestest friends. You know, well known in the department. You know, his nephew, Jim, everybody knows him. I mean, I'm super known. If you work at the Department of Corrections, you know who both Big Jim and Little Jim, you know Justin. I mean, so their family, very well known, been in the correction system for as long as I can remember. And again, why in the world would you want to stop? See, that's something I'm proud of. That's something I want to promote, is that your sons and your daughters would want to follow in your footsteps, and that this would be the kind of place, position, job, profession that they would want to. You know, you want your kids to do something you're proud of. And again, I can tell you, when I was there, I was proud. We were trained like you wouldn't believe. I mean, if you started in 90, then you know back in 90, man, they had training, sent us all over the United States, training all the time. You know, I mean, and when I was doing it, I don't think I appreciated it. When I got retired, it's like, you know, you're sitting in meetings or you're doing stuff, and you start kicking back on that training. You start kicking back on what you've learned. All of a sudden, you are a very knowledgeable person because of the training that the department put you through in that. So again, I would love to see the department go back to raising the bar, not lowering the bar, raising the bar on hiring, raising the bar on training, and making sure that they get quality, professional. Need a new CERT team. You know, what's your opinion on the CERT team right now? Just so you listeners know, CERT team is the, what CERT stand for? I can't even remember.
Emergency Response Team. So it's actually not a CERT team. It's just CERT.
CERT.
Correctional Emergency Response Team.
Okay.
Response team.
So again, guys, when I was there to get on CERT, I mean, it was a privilege. Everybody wanted on it. You couldn't get on it unless you were a pretty dedicated employee and you were willing to train. We had training all the time when you were on CERT team. And you got called out. And we used to, Department of Corrections got called out if they had a problem at jails. You know, I will tell you, when the Oklahoma City bombing occurred, guess what? There were so many of us up there. I was up there within hours. They called me. In fact, if I remember right, I was turkey hunting. And I got in from turkey hunting and was told, hey, call them. They've been calling you. Bam. I mean, just within hours, I'm up there. But we had many of our officers
always going somewhere.
Yeah, they were always going. That's where I would love to see us get back.
Yes.
So why? I mean, if you were just looking at hiring Jim's nephew, which I would say we're shorthanded, massive shorthanded. You'd agree with that,
Yes.
wouldn't you? So you're shorthanded. So here you have a person, a pretty good physical shape, I would say, that has experience. I mean, this guy's going to have a background like we're talking about, steeped in corrections, knows corrections, criminal justice degree. You know what I'm saying? I would think that would be hire him on the spot. I would think, to me, that's what I would think. So what happened?
I plan to. Like I said, Director Farris said he wasn't high on the idea just because of his last name. And again, I explained that was not a big deal like it was back in the 25 years ago, back before. But I still had plans on probably moving forward with it. But when I had sent my text to Jim Farris, he relayed the message to his son, and then the son, and somebody called Justin. And within minutes, I received a phone call from Director Farris on last Saturday, where I was cussed, called a liar, called a drama queen, said I instigated all kinds of drama within the facility.
Well, now I want to stop you for just a second. You've been in corrections for how long?
25 years next month.
Okay, 25 years. You've heard a little cussing in 25 years.
I've been called a lot.
You've been in corrections. I mean, if you're in corrections, you're gonna get cussed. You're gonna be in a briefing. You're gonna hear cussing.
Yep.
So you're no stranger to a good cuss word here
good.
now and then. You know.
Yeah.
So when you say cuss, do you mean like belittled? Cuss? What are you talking about?
I
cuss?
was berated, belittled, degraded. I have never been so humiliated and disrespected in all my life. I've never had anybody speak to me like that. And he said he was going to call me right back from another number with Zane on a 3-way, which he did. At the first time the phone rang, my husband didn't know who was screaming at me. And then the second time I did put it on speaker, and my husband had to witness the continued, and it was even worse then. That's when I was told that that was my second strike, and that Mr. Sparks would be down to deal with me the next week. And
Sparks being the second highest right under Director Farris
has also said he can't stand me on multiple occasions and hates me at graduations and different things. He would tell me how much
openly they would say that.
Yes. As soon as Jim Farris retired out, it was immediately known there was a list of us that Jim had promoted that would be either retiring, demoted, or fired. And
so there's kind of a rival, what you're saying. There's a rival going on between brothers. Yes. One leaves, and the people that brother that left is now being targeted, is what you're saying, because they have a relationship or a perceived relationship, that there's more loyalty to that one than is it. You know.
And I was not loyal. I mean, I was loyal to Jim Farris when he was my warden and DOI director, administrator, yes. But I've always been loyal to the agency. I've always been loyal to the director at the time. I've always been loyal to my warden at the time. That doesn't change. I still respect my mentor.
Right. Well, you know where I'm at with all that is I'm the same way with the legislator. I'm going to, the speaker is in charge. He's the boss. That's who you answer to. That's who you work with. But that speaker actually works for some people we forget, which is the citizens of Oklahoma. And these unelected bureaucrats, guess what? This director may be appointed by this group over here, but they all work for, we answer to the citizens. So as long as that director is doing legal and doing what's right for the good of Oklahoma. Now, we got rid of, I think, one of the worst things, Harp. Man, Harp was just terrible. He was just terrible. I tell you what, he brought down a lot of standards, but we had a motto of protect the citizens, protect the public, protect the employee, and protect the inmates in that order. I thought it was one of the best mottos I've ever seen. Easy to remember, and it got right to it. It was great. So where I'm at is, does that have to do with protecting so yes, we answer to the director. Yes, the director's in charge, but what is the director doing? And like right here, the director's job should be, the best asset you have is your employees.
Yes.
I believe. Best asset you have is your employees. You treat your employees good, and guess what? If you treat your employees good, they're going to do a good job, and they're going to treat the inmates better. You demand professionalism. You know what I'm saying? We're going to be professional until if they laid hands on us, then we're going to take care of business. And that's being professional. That's the way you do.
Rules.
Yep. Right. So here we have that you were not. They didn't have grounds to fire you on. The grounds to fire you on is that they just thought you were too close to somebody you like.
Yeah. Yes.
And you can be friends with somebody without being unloyal to the department.
Exactly. I knew there was a small rift between the two. I didn't know how big the rift was, nor did I. It's not my business. That's their business. I immediately also received a call from a nurse who was out of town and asked me if I had released her investigation. And I said, no. I said, matter of fact, you're the one that told me the investigation was over. And she said, yes. And I was still crying. And I said, Justin just screamed and yelled at me. And I said, I don't feel like I can take much more. And I was like, I've never been spoke to that way. I said it. And she said she'd been screamed at before, but it would be okay. And I said, I don't think it's going to be okay. Like, this is not okay. I'm getting ready to get fired or something's going to happen to me. And then, like I said, I walked in Wednesday morning. When I pulled into the parking lot Wednesday, I actually knew something was wrong. She never parks in that parking lot. She was parked there in the lower parking lot. And when I walked in, she was standing in the lobby and was like, "How are you?" I said, "I'm fine. How are you?" And then I looked up and there was Bo Reynolds to serve me my termination paper, which right at a month ago, I got upset because he chewed me. He called and was upset about some pictures we sent in for Employee Appreciation Month. And I was headed to a funeral for an employee. And for whatever reason, he decided to bring up my deceased father, who's been deceased almost 14 years and was retired 6 years prior to that. So most people have not worked for somebody that's been gone for 20 years. And started calling my dad a doom and gloom and said that he was nothing but a worrier and the sky's always falling.
So everybody knows. So what everybody knows, Bo Reynolds works for the department. He would be your third highest guy. Now he's kind of really a controversial figure because I'm just going to say it out right here. There is a lot of rumor going on, and I was out of the prison not too long back, and some of the employees stopped me and said, "Hey, do you know this guy's tied in with certain gangs and stuff?" And I said, "Well, I hear that all the time, but I don't know that. So that's alleged. I don't know that. But I will tell you, I have had that told to me by numerous people. So he's a controversial figure. And if you follow him where he's been, there's been a lot of controversy. The last prison he was working at as a deputy warden was probably the worst. I mean, it is the gladiator prison. Inmates completely run that prison, I would say, and that's at Holdenville. So Alan Gamble is where we're talking about. Now, he gets promoted with that kind of record. He gets promoted over warden, so he's never been a warden.
Never ran a prison.
He bounces over that, gets the third highest position. Now, I would tell you that's sketchy. That's extremely sketchy. And again, why does that matter? Because it builds bad blood in the department. You've got all these people who put in their time, who have rose through the rank, who now are doing warden, and you're going to take a guy that has a sketchy as hell background, and you're going to bounce him over all of these wardens, so he don't know what the crud. He hadn't been a warden. He hadn't done that job. Been a deputy warden, got an idea what the job is, but he hadn't been right there in that spot. And until you're there, it's kind of like looking from the sidelines. You may know what the game is, but you ain't playing the game. And so he didn't get to play the game. He bounced over the entire thing, which is, again, sketchy as all get out, which shows the poor management, because anybody that would know anything would know this will build a rift in your department. So, again, this shows such poor management skills. This is why I constantly call him out. And so he's over that. So now he's telling you what a poor warden you are, and he's talking about your dad. Now help me out. Did he even know you were dad?
No. He said that he had talked to somebody that had worked for my dad. Again, that was over 20 years ago. So you're pretty much trashing my deceased father and saying it's hereditary because now I'm a conspiracy theorist and paranoid. I keep being paranoid about getting fired, but yet here we are a month later.
It ain't paranoia if it's real. And I'm going to say, and I come up with that statement when I worked for the department. I had one of my supervisors that when I was like, "Hey, I'm a little paranoid now," and he goes, he always would tell me, "It ain't paranoia if it's real," because guess what? It was real. They investigated me. I don't know how. In fact, they just come out, check this out. They pulled my record from 17 years, which tells you they looked at my entire record and all they could do. And again, one of them had to leak somebody leaked my private employment records. And again, if somebody wanted to do a FOIA, I don't care. I'm happy. There's nothing in there that I care whether you look at it or not. And I got a big tickle because they come out and all they could find was 17 years ago, I got investigated, but I got cleared. And then they said, "Well, it looks like he pulled shenanigans." And I go, "I'm always pulling shenanigans. My whole life was pulling shenanigans on them because they were always pulling shenanigans on me." So again, for them to go back and do that, unbelievable how they target certain individuals. And that's the whole deal. They target. Now, so he calls you up. He gives you not, there's a difference between me saying, I'm damn sure mad at you, or you're a damn blankety blank, whatever. Yeah. Now, you're saying he cursed you, belittled you.
Justin Farris did. Yes, he did.
Okay.
To the point I was crying, upset. I mean, I will say I did call Jim Farris. And he immediately said he'd start taking care of it. I don't think he's ever actually heard me cry until that day. Right. But I had never been spoke to like that, ever. Even by inmates. I mean, like, ever.
Well, and the difference between, you take a cussing, but when you got 25 years, what people don't understand, when you've invested your life into something, 25 years, your whole family history, this ain't just you. This is what I'm trying to tell people. This ain't just, you got to understand what it's like to work 20 years, to take pride in what you're doing, to this being practically most of your life, a big part of your life, and then have somebody who has almost absolutely no experience, who is going to call up, go crazy, cuss somebody out, belittle somebody over what? Wanting to hire their nephew. That's what we're talking about here. That this person would scream, holler, cuss, and take your job, your income, your life, your history away from you for that.
My retirement, my health insurance, my benefits. I mean, and I think I have one letter of concern or reprimand in my field file. Literally, it's over nothing. It's over a report. That's it. I have no discipline. And up until January 20th, I'd always had exceed or above exceed standards on my DMPs. January 20th, Kelly Davis gave me a 2 because I had taken 2 luxury vacations, is what she called them. One was a cruise and a week in Florida with my husband and grandson. And then because I had some health issues and took off some in the fall and used my sick leave.
So you've been there 25 years, probably have a lot of unburnt sick time.
I've had enough sick time. I mean, in 2019, I had a massive heart attack at 42. I did not have to borrow leave. I did not have to get shared leave. I had enough leave to cover that. Jim was the warden at OSP in 21 or 22, and I had to take off for a couple surgeries there and back to back. Had plenty of leave, didn't need donated leave, still had sick leave to burn. Again, later on down the history, yes, I have stage 3 kidney failure. Director Farris knows that. I'm not incapable of doing my job. They're considered injured. They never go away. It's never really going to get better, but it's never going to get really worse unless I push it and stress or whatever. Right. But to be continuously nitpicked about my sick leave is, right, I should not have to justify every time I take off sick. But so I quit taking off any leave up until recently, and I didn't consider it luxury vacations if my husband's company paid for him a trip, and I went with him. So I would go with him.
You want me to tell you what I consider luxury vacation is where I proved where Harp and the Department of Corrections lied about using state funds to fly all over the United States, have drunk parties, go out and have big on so-called training, lied about it, and then I gave it to the media, and the media actually come out with the deal and showed that they actually 1,000% lied about all the money they were spending, come out. In fact, this director was mentioned about staying in hotels and all kinds of stuff. So, you know what I'm saying? If you live in glass huts, don't throw stones. And you know what? I bet you if we would go and look, he's taking some luxury. I bet you he's taking cruises and he'll take vacations also. So why would they, give you a bad rating because you got a vacation? Where you go on your vacation ain't none of their business, I would say, is it?
It is if they go through your Facebook account. So finally, I quit posting. As of January 20th, I quit posting on Facebook mainly, and really I only posted things about DOC, Mac Alford, hiring officers, hiring staff, good things that happened at Mac Alford. January 20th again. Overall facility was great. We had the best response time for our CERT team, the CERT. Even incidents within the facility, we had amazing responses. Again, sanitation at Mac Alford is off the chart. It's always set the standard. It's still there. It is a great place. I can never fault anything with those. Those two individuals work very hard to.
Well, let me ask you this. So they're going to fire you, but yet let's talk about some of the prisons that are out there. Let's talk about Allen Gamble. I mean, you're having murder after murder after murder at Allen Gamble. You've had a couple of murders there at Mac Alford, which I think you've dealt with, but you won't have them like a daily. You don't have the DA coming and them throwing a body out in front of the DA and all of that kind of stuff.
We probably had more ODs due to drugs than anything as far as the deaths. But we've had murders, we've had incidents, but there's certain things to be expected inside those environments. And we've addressed them and handled them. If people need to be terminated, they were terminated. If they receive discipline, they receive discipline.
But now, would you not agree that if you were to look at Dick Connors, if you were to look at Great Plains, if you were to look at especially Allen Gamble, Red Rock, would you not think that those places have more incidents, more issues with cleanliness and food issues, and just massive problems in comparison to you? So what I'm saying, if I was sitting back, which I am, and looking at this, which I do very closely, and I was to say, okay, I'm going to fire a warden, you would be way down on the lower list.
Should be.
Well, if you're looking at incidents, if you're looking at problems, if you're looking at all the calls that I get and I receive as a legislator all the time. And I will tell y'all, I'm the number one legislator to get these calls. Anything that comes in that Capitol building, they refer it to me. So when I say that I understand what's going on at the prison, even though they've tried to keep me, have broke the law trying to keep me from finding out, guess what? I still hear, and I can tell you overwhelmingly, the 4 prisons I named, I would say are probably run by the prisoners. They've lost total control on those prisons. So why are they firing you instead of looking at these other places that are having massive problems?
We had 25 findings in our audit last year. We went down to 15 this year. That's 10 less than we had last year. So even better.
You
improved it and still got, and like I said, they raved about the staff. And then as soon as I asked my deputy to leave the goals and objectives, that's when they hammered me about my leave. Mac Alford, the warden's house was built with a horse barn and a horse pasture for the warden's horse by one of the previous wardens. I was forbidden to ride my horse around the perimeter, which you would think would be a good thing. But apparently I posted some pictures. Yes, I did. Nothing you can't see from the highway, nothing you can't see from right inside that front entrance of, usually if you see a warden out riding around with another staff member, clocked out, not on the books, riding around my horse, looking around the perimeter. It blew up and I was forbidden to ride my horse around the perimeter.
They used to bring people up there to the, what was it, something shack up there. I was trying to remember, so, I mean, wow. I would think that would promote you, make you look better. If not, I mean, it's simple. Hey, just don't do that no more.
The inmates and the staff really liked it. I mean, they enjoyed it, but apparently, so I was told to basically knock off my sick leave, knock off my annual leave, and not ride my horse around the prison. And then it was just weird. But Tuesday, I did ask my HR because they sent an email about the closeout evaluations. And I said, can you go tell me what I got on my evaluation? She said, yeah. She came back. She said, you got a 3. I said, well, at least I improved. I went from a 2 to a 3. And then Wednesday, right after I got terminated, I said, can you print me that? And she said, no, they've already removed you from work day. I couldn't get my pay stub. I couldn't get my resume. I couldn't get anything to even go file for unemployment at that point. I got it late Friday evening, which is now a holiday weekend. So eventually, hopefully next week, I'll get to file for unemployment and hopefully get my overs and sooner saved back.
Well, you know, they fired a lot of people.
Yes.
So this group, and again, going back to Harp, when Harp come in, Harp, and what's interesting, Harp was the reason we went from merit protection to civil service, which was a bad move. And that was only so they could fire people who do what they want. So then Harp fires mainly most of your administration, just comes in and wipes out wardens and top administrators. There's a guy named Ward that was, he was the media person. Great guy. I mean, everybody loved him. Fired him for absolutely no reason. Brought in Kay Thompson. Her dad was the budget chairman, Roger Thompson. She had worked over there in OMS with Harp, I think. So, bam, we're going to fire this guy with all kinds of experience. Everybody loves him. He's doing a great job. Fired him, no reason. His assistant, I think they ran her off, fired her. She was a great person as well. They fired the doctor, had a doctor that was just finally getting things turned around. Dr. Fisher doing a hell of a good job, I thought. They fired him, I think, just because Harp was jealous that he made more money. Brought in another OMES person who later they found out wasn't even qualified. Then instead of getting rid of her, left her in this high dollar salary, and then went and hired another doctor underneath her so that they would have somebody certified to do the job. They fired multiple wards. Yeah. A lot of these got a lawsuit on them right now that I think they'll win.
And then, so when they made us, they call us the 5%ers. So apparently there were a lot of other people at administration that were considered 5%ers. They have put them back under regular, not 5%ers.
Right. Civil
to make more room for the wardens, deputies, and the chiefs to be terminated. They just recently added the chief securities to the 5%er groups. And like I said, and I've read up enough to say that, yes, I understand I could be fired for any reason, but when there's absolutely no reason except for I pissed the director off with a text message to his brother. But you cannot degrade me. You cannot disrespect me. You cannot harass me. You cannot threaten me. And all of that has been done since probably been ending 9 months ago, maybe. I've been 2.5 years ago when I first made warden and I'm not trying to be ugly, but I do not actually consider the work centers. I'm just talking about the 13 big prisons within the state. There was 7 female wardens, and they were extremely proud of that. I mean, they blew it up all over Facebook. Women's Month. I mean, there was numerous deputy wardens too that were females. They blew that up. They were so proud that they had half their facilities were basically run by females, and they were females running men facilities. It's a pretty big thing. As of today, you now have 3, and they pushed out 2 last year into retirement. One of them was one of the best wardens I'd worked for too. I mean, yeah, Jim Farris trained both of us, and me and her, like yin and yang, we're different, but he trained us both. So I'm not saying we're perfect angels. I'm just saying we had our head on our shoulders. We respected.
And it looks like you were targeted.
We were targeted
because of that relationship.
We had a list when he left, and it is almost complete.
Right.
And I can probably tell you that I can almost give you the name. I hate to say it, but the next warden that'll be gone, and the next few deputies or chiefs that'll be gone right after that.
Right.
And that's sad.
Just because they were appointed by a certain
Jim Farris.
Yeah, by Jim Farris.
And that's it. I mean, and we've been watching this hit list for months now.
Well,
and we've been checked off piece by piece.
Well, here's where I'm at. And I think you can speak to this. And again, guys, we're limited on what we can say because we're on a conversation with a lawyer, and we want to make sure that we don't say anything that might cause problems in her case. So we're not bringing up as much as we could have a much more in-depth conversation about what's going on at the prisons. But I think you're seeing a lot of problems. But now, would you agree that they are covering a lot of things up? For instance, I've been screaming and hollering about the staff levels, and they're acting like I'm crazy. They're going back to the legislators. Oh, JJ's making it up. JJ's lying. We've got plenty of staff. We had so many show up, and I wanted to pass a bill to let me go in and be there at staff, the shift change, so I could actually say, no, there's only 5 here when y'all claim there was 20 something here. Is that really going on to your knowledge? I mean, are they covering up to that level?
Not to my knowledge. Now, I know, like, I've been present in briefing, and they're like, hey, warden, you may have to work a post for a minute. I'm like, all right, I'll go work post. When I first became deputy warden at Jackie Brandon, I think I spent 1 or 2 months working visitation during COVID. It was not offensive to me. I mean, people were out sick. We were having to go through different, it was a stressful time.
But would you agree? Would you agree? Because now
we are definitely short.
Yeah. Here's the deal. I worked there. Okay. I in my history, and again, I was probation pro for most of mine, but I did work in prison. And my time working in the prison, having a deputy warden, having a chief of security, having a lieutenant. You didn't have a lieutenant come and work visitation. That just didn't happen. I mean, they might call somebody in on a day off or something.
But yeah, you didn't.
But you didn't have that. That's unheard of.
Yeah, it's unheard of.
So to have that says to me, you have a massive problem.
The deputy at McAuliford has come in and covered food service. The chief of security at McAuliford has taken trips, has run to medical trips, has run to ARC to drop off medical people. It happens a lot.
Well, here's the deal. You have a policy that says it requires 2 people to be on a place, and we're breaking that policy. Let me say this. You know quite a bit about OSP. It's my understanding that they've closed the towers at OSP. So why would you close the towers at OSP?
I don't know. They're saying they're not needed because of the cameras. They are needed.
Well, but that's probably because they're so short-handed that they're using their staff somewhere else.
Yeah.
And again, they're saying cameras, bull crap, cameras. Cameras are great, guys. We love cameras in prison. The more cameras, because you have hidden spots, the more the better, the more the merrier. Hey, I'm all for it. I back that 100%. But a camera cannot look and stay focused, cannot do, by the time that camera gets it, by the time somebody sees that, by the time they call somebody else, guess what? The issue is done out of hand.
The towers at OSP are there to be manned with a weapon. In case there's an incident going on in the yard, in case there's an incident, the inmate climbing a fence, and they're not to fire a warning shot. The cameras can't fire a bullet.
Right.
So
cameras are not people. And so,
people.
Again, those towers are to be manned, and they've been manned since I can remember, and now they're not manned. That's a problem. Big time. That shows Jackie Brandon,
yes,
which is separate from OSP. They're on the same basically property,
yes,
but they're totally separate. One's a minimum, one's a maximum prison with death row.
yes.
They're having to have officers. I got a case where inmates being forced to go over and work, and that was a big issue. It caused them massive issue. But they're having officers leave. So you already have a shortage. Now they're saying you're going to go over and work. Now they're having officers leave, causing more shortage. Again, am I over exaggerating?
No.
That this is a massive, massive problem.
And they're merging them. So I don't know if they're officially merged or not, but they're merging them. And now you've got some of the OSP officers that are now having to cover, they've only covered one section of OSP, the tool guy, or I don't know, say the laundry person. Well, now they're having to cover both places.
Right.
And it's causing them stress. So they're like, now we're over 2 prisons. And it's like, it's so much. You know what I mean? So
well,
now they're stressed.
And the thing about it is, see, this is what I always held up as a probation officer. If I have 100 cases, then guess what? You have so many problems going to occur in that 100 cases. You give me 200 cases, and the amount of problems that I have just doubled. Yeah. That's not hard concept to understand. So when you are dealing with these issues, you're talking about doubling the issues, doubling the problem. And we're not talking about, let's talk about paperwork. Double the paperwork, double the counts, double the keeping up. And again, no extra pay. We're having to pay massive amounts overtime.
Yes.
Now, in a lot of these prisons that we're naming, the Red Rock, the Great Plains, man, there's murders going on all the time.
Yes.
And they're trying to cover that up, saying, "Oh, JJ's exaggerating." Do y'all still get? Because now, when I was there, they put out a report. It was called Facts at a Glance. I loved it. It was.
We don't have that anymore.
They don't even put. Now, here's the deal. My understanding: from prison to prison, you no longer even get information what's going on, which is critical because you need to know what's happening on over this. Because there may be a gang thing here, and there may be something over here, and you're seeing what's going on over here. That's called communication in your departments. And now you're starting, hey, I think I see something over here.
Even if they want to do the teams meeting with the wardens and have a teams meeting, that's fine. But there for a while, yes, we'd all go to Oklahoma City once a month. We'd meet every warden, communities, and then even like construction and maintenance and people from other areas would be there with us. And we could talk. And then when Kelly Davis took over, and we begged for this to stop, but we were split. It's always either been, a long time ago, it was east and west side of Oklahoma. Well, now we've gone north and south. So all the facilities to the north went to one meeting, and all the facilities to the south went to one meeting. And I like talking to some of the north people. I like talking to people from every angle of the prisons.
I like knowing everybody. When
we
were there,
visiting.
We were there. We had CERT. We had competition amongst the CERT team, and it built that unity. And what would happen? So if you had to do a search, and back then we were always doing searches. The CERT teams would show up. Man, we would shake down an entire prison. And guess what? Somebody from another prison CERT team would show up. There would be 3 or 4 CERT teams show up. And we got to know each other all from competitions and doing stuff. And the minute you drive up there and you know old so-and-so, and there was this camaraderie, but it was always, hey, what do you, I hadn't seen you in a while. And man, there was a lot of bonded. And you were a department, you were a unit, even though we hadn't actually been together. We were trained the same, we worked the same, and man,
we received the same amount of information.
Oh, everybody was getting told 100%. So here's where I'm at. When you start not being transparent, when you start stopping information from flowing, you got something to cover up. You're trying to hide something. Mm-hmm. Would you agree that they are not wanting just how bad it is to get out?
Absolutely.
So
100%.
Yes. So we've got, I've got constantly beatings, stabbings. They won't let people see their loved ones in the hospital. They're requiring them not to go in there because I think that they don't want pictures taken. What do you think on that?
I think there's still part of it. They don't want the security as far as, to endanger our officers with family members. But at the same time, I know we used to have ways to do it. I don't remember all the ways, like maybe just not let them go in there with a cell phone or cameras or something like that. But we would allow visits with loved ones in the hospital. That was an exception. I mean, it was rare, but it still happened.
Well, if you knew the person was going to die.
If you knew they were going to die, yes, we would do like a last moment visit type thing. Yeah. Right. Now, if they had injuries to their face, I'm sure we could take their phones, and it's not about taking pictures. It's about them visiting. Right. So, but, a long time ago, I remember having an inmate beat up so bad at OSP, he wanted to go visit. And I remember saying, you're not going to visit. Like, you're not going to traumatize your family that way. Like, they don't need to see that. Right. But there is just, like I said, you can't communicate with anybody else. You can't communicate. It's just shut down. And like I said, and it's not just in the facilities. This is headquarters too. They're terrified. There's people that are not 5%ers that are terrified. They will not speak. You're saying
the staff is scared to come forward.
They are.
And then a lot of this is the threat level on the staff is because they don't want them coming out, telling what's actually going on with employees, the shortages, the assaults, the murders, the food service, the lack of medical care,
Everything.
the
Everything.
things like you mentioned, and I didn't jump off on that, an investigation going on
Yes.
to where an investigation. So I will tell you, I'm being told multiple investigations that OIG is throwing in the bag because the top level, and I made this an issue. You know what I'm saying? If you work for the director, and now the director's wife is good friends with somebody who's getting investigated, and now that investigation, even though there might be pictures of what actually was going on,
I didn't have those.
right?
I didn't have that. I just had an investigation, and then it was taken care of. I was cut out of it, and I was fine with it. The person that was being investigated told me it was over. That's it. And then she actually said the director's wife told her it was over. That's how I found out the investigation was over. Not OIG,
But now that person is good friends with the director's wife.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So guys,
and then
just we're talking around in circles, but just so you know, there was accusations of sexual misconduct between employees, okay? And an investigation was done. Supposedly one of these people were good friends, allegedly, good friends with the director's wife, and the investigation got totally shut down and it's over. But one of the people that is having problems from these people may have had some documentation, pictures, whatever, that the event actually happened. And now it's probably not over because guess what? It's going to come out. I think that they threw this investigation in the tank and did not properly do an investigation. I'm not going to get into 2 or 3 other investigations that are as horrendous as this, but that's what's going to get them in trouble, I think, is that there's a pattern of that kind of abuse. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay, so.
And then to say that I was charged with embezzlement and escorted out in handcuffs, which is a lie. And that was blasted by an undercover staff member.
So here's what's funny. I got called from reporters saying that you and 2 other people were walked out in handcuffs down the hill. So that's totally false.
False.
And you think that narrative was put out purposely?
Yes.
Okay, by another employee or by somebody with OIG?
Somebody, I wouldn't know. OIG actually was upset and sent them a picture of it, and they said, "Do you have your cell phone in jail?" So they weren't a part of it, but it was actually, I never even made it up the hill that morning. I barely made it into the front lobby. I was allowed to leave in my Jeep, go put some stuff on, and then Bo kept questioning me if my husband was home alone or if he was off working. I said, yes, he's off working, but I can get his truck. I'm coming right back to get the rest of my stuff. He kept asking me if I was home alone. I don't know why, but it was weird. And then, so I was allowed to go back to McAllister, get another vehicle, come back, fill it back up with some more stuff. And then within 2 days, it was released that I was escorted off and arrested for embezzlement. And they put it out everywhere, which is not true. Well, and I had to I prepared my children and my family for some, mudslinging, name calling. I had no idea they would throw a criminal, but no, I was not arrested. I'm not being investigated. I've not been charged by any county. I have nothing. I've actually donated more of my paycheck back to the facility than I could probably ever. There's a protocol to keep me from ever trying to embezzle. If I sign an IPR, there's people in place to keep me from signing anything. Right. I can't embezzle anything from that state. I've donated more money in my time back to that prison, and it's
there are ways to embezzle.
Probably.
I can teach you. I've had to work many of these.
I don't know how. Okay.
I have had to investigate a lot over the last few years. I have lots of ideas how to do it. One of the things that I just said, let me give you an example, and you were there at, so we had a benefit not too long ago for a person who's lost to one of their children, and it was a big deal. And so I live in this community, don't know the person super well, but I do I want the employees to know that I back them. I may have problems with my director and some of the administration, But I mean, I fight for employees. I back the employees. I love the department. So again, I was there, and they were, I come in, the director's there, never spoke to me. Now here's what's funny, and this director knows it. He'll be watching this. I know you tune into this stuff. So here's the deal. You know I got your job for you. You know I was a big part of getting your job when you first, and Director Crow was not going to hire you. He was going to hire Mike Carpenter. And again, you got hired because of me and Bobby Cleveland. Now, we used some other people to get that done, but that's why you got it. And then you've forgotten who's helped you and who's done stuff for you. I walk in there, he will not even speak to me. People were scared to speak to me. Nobody would speak to me. I had one or two people that spoke to me while I was there. And again, the reason is because everybody's scared to death because they've been threatened that if they speak to me, if anybody's seen speaking to me. Now, would you agree with that statement? That
I was
in
between you two. Like, I was scared because I had this director behind me and you was in front of me. I was like,
I even told an employee, I go, who is that right there? Who, so that they would not know that me and you know each other. And I wouldn't say, and again, so Mr. Farris, if you're watching this, we know each other, have known each other for quite a while. It's not like we hang out, like we talk on the phone every 5 minutes. But you know what? I did not even say hi to you.
No.
And not just you. I mean, like half that. Well, more than half, 3/4 of the people. You
didn't speak to anybody from McAuliford, so.
Here's the deal, and I know everybody in there practically. I mean, we're all from around here, you know what I mean? And so I did not speak to people, and even went as far as to act like, who is that? What is that person? Would you not agree that they are scared to death of anybody talking to me?
Yes.
And here's what's funny, Mr. Farris, if you're listening. It is actually illegal for y'all. I'm an elected official. These people elect me. They are entitled to speak to me. And again, you can't keep them from speaking to their elected officials. They didn't lose their rights just because they are your employee. And for you to do that, this is the things that we're talking about going on with the Department of Corrections. So let me see. We may be getting close.
Yeah.
We know. I know that I am having a good conversation when I look up and an hour is almost gone and we have not even got into. I want to know this lady before we get off here. This lady from that got out in 70 days. This is a big hot issue. Posted.
They bragged about it in a warden's meeting. I was present. It was in Lawton, Oklahoma, February 19th.
February 19th, you were at a warden's meeting and they're bragging about letting this lady go?
Yep. And that they beat the Mothers Against Drunk Drivers Association. They beat the protest.
Okay, so guys, I want you to hear that because that is huge. That is something really huge because they're denying, we didn't have anything. This was a normal procedure. It's not a normal procedure when they're sitting in a warden's meeting bragging about beating mothers with drunk driving. This is a huge issue right here that we're going to be digging into. I'm going to be digging into it. I called it out 2 or 3 weeks before it ever become an issue. People, in fact, the Lost Ogle was making fun of me for calling this out, for calling. I filed an amendment called it the Corrupt Bastardist Act amendment. And what I was talking about is you can close loopholes all day long, but they'll just create more loopholes. They'll just do something that they want to do, create a loophole. It ain't the loopholes, it's corrupt bastards who use the loophole. And so I broke that amendment and he's lost his mind. Look here.
It was sick. It was sick.
Okay. So here's the deal. We're going to get deeper into this. We're going to be looking into that issue because that's a huge issue. And wrapping up, I want to just kind of go down. You were cussed, demoralized,
degraded.
Okay.
Threatened.
because you wanted to hire a top-notch, qualified, has history, would be considered probably one of the top people to even apply for the job. So you got belated and cussed and humiliated and fired over that one issue when you had good reviews. You have prisons that have massive problems, rapes, beatings, murders, all kinds of things. We didn't even get talk of Dawson staff. Real quick, do you think they're trying to cover up? My opinion, I think there's assault staff that are not being reported and they don't want it reported.
If they are, I don't know how yet. But I know I report mine.
Right.
And I'll send OIG will come in and then they take it to the DA's office.
Do you think they actually take things to the DA's office?
They do. OIG does for me, because I know Atoka County doesn't like it because we won't transport the inmates back. It's a big.
No, I know that.
They keep a lot of the county cases over there. I heard a couple weeks ago we've got a stack of DOC cases in the corner because Margaret can't transport all the inmates back to McAuliford.
But again, one of the problems is you don't have the manpower to transport.
No, I do.
That's the issue. Okay. But so basically, you are in agreement. You are radically that the department has a crisis, major crisis in shortage of staff. We didn't get to talk about your case managers. A lot of people forget case managers. When you get short on case managers, people don't get their pros. People don't get their discharge dates. You have massive problems with that. I see that as a huge, huge problem. I think the department, if anybody ever comes in and looks, they got a lawsuit because they're holding people past their discharge date more than one. What about Koreas? Do you think they're doing? I honestly can tell you case after case that they've covered.
I know of one that was covered up.
Right.
And we'll get into that one. That was another big one.
Right. So guys, we're going to have her come back. We're just hitting today what we want to talk about is how ridiculous that they put that she embezzled money, that she was walked out with two others in handcuffs. Not true. That she has this impeccable record with the department, 25 years, a history with family, and that she's going to be fired for wanting to hire one of the director's nephews who is highly qualified, and that because of that, I mean, it could have been a simple call, don't hire, we're not going to hire him. Okay, that's that simple, and it would have been done. But instead, we're going to scream, cuss. There's going to be a lot of other stuff come out on his temper. I'm not bringing some stuff out, but I have seen some stuff coming out on, that looks pretty ugly about his temperament after he's not on duty, things that not on duty. So again, I think he's opened up a can of worms that, you know what I'm saying, that old saying, when you live in a glass hut, you ought not to throw stones. I think you have messed up, Mr. Farris. I think that you have started a war that you can't win, and that there's going to be a lot of stuff come out. And again, we're just starting right here, but we're going to look into this lady that got out 70 days. What's her name again? Poston. Okay. I keep forgetting that name. We're going to look into that. We're going to look into why has Margaret been fired. We're going to look into the temperament of these cussings, throwing fits, these kind of things. We're going to look into the shortages of officers, whether these assaults are occurring without being reported, and all of these things that we feel like, but we know that the towers are empty. We know they're having to pull these two prisons at OSP and McAllister together. We know you can't do transports to court, medical. We didn't even get into the medical services that we're not getting. We got into all the people being fired, lawsuits. We didn't get into hiring outside counsel where they go hire these big, again, we got OIG doing the investigations for the director, tossing them in the tank. We mentioned one or two of those. We're going to come out with more details on one of those are really, and the records are there and it's sketchy. So we're going to get into all of those. So we're going to have you back. We're going to have to talk more about what's going on. Maybe we could have 4 or 5. I would love to have a sit down with 4 or 5 employees, have a round discussion on what's actually happening in the Department of Corrections. I've got a former chief, I think, that would come in on that, could shed a lot of light on Dick Connors. I've got a former warden, Pettigrew, I think, could shed a lot of light on. He was fired, and nobody even to this day knows what he was fired for. And he's got a lawsuit. So we got a lot of stuff that is coming out. Guys, he doesn't want, the directors don't want me speaking the truth. Why I had Margaret on here is she's backing me up, saying what I've been saying is the truth. Now, we don't agree 100%, and you haven't seen all of what I say, but I'm getting a view of every prison, not just where you worked. And so again,
And I think you saw a lot just last week, just
oh,
when you called and like,
yeah. I mean, I got told like that, and we started talking, and absolutely, I could not believe. And again, Mr. Farris, hey, we know each other, and I know a bunch of other wardens, and I talk to them and everything. Know lots of people across the whole department, but it's not like we're bestest friends talking every day. So again, when I heard this, I reached out and said, hey, did this really happen? And so it did happen the way that I heard it happen. And again, it's unbelievable. She's in 5%. I still think she may have a lawsuit. That's why we're not going into detail on a bunch of stuff. She may have a lawsuit because, again, they can't harass, they can't belittle, they can't humiliate. They had no reason to fire. This is a ridiculous, and this is why that we need to bring back merit protection, because those corrupt bastardist people who use their positions to ruin people's lives just because they're mad. And again, I'm mad over something that don't amount to anything, but I'll take your health insurance when you mention medical problem. Guys, she got medical problems, and they're going to take her health insurance. She dedicated 25 years to them, and this is how they treat you after dedicating 25 years, giving a great service, and they're going to take your medical, they're going to take your retirement, they're going to just throw you out because they don't give one rat's ass about you, and you wonder why you can't get employees. You wonder why that the word is, and all your employees right now, you would agree, they're scared to death. Everybody's walking on eggshells. That's why your department is in the shambles and the disaster that it is. And until we get somebody in that people have confidence in, we're never going to get our department straightened out. Hey, guys, we could go all day. I could talk to her for 5 or 6 more hours, I guess, and we could start swapping stories. We could be here for a long time. I just want you to get involved. It's time that we take back Oklahoma. That's why I'm running for lieutenant governor, is this stuff right here. It's time to take back Oklahoma, and it's we the people, you and me, that's going to have to do it. It's we are the government, and it's time the government answer to us, not an elected bureaucrat who is abusing the position that he was given a great position, and instead of doing something with it, he's abusing, doing stuff like this. It's time we call him out. Hey, y'all have a very, very blessed day.